These are some secrets on the second level of Bugsy 3D. I know this game extremely well, but in order for it to even start, I need to get to the area. While I'm getting there, I'm collecting some junk along the way, bopping a few enemies, hopping these platforms, and I think you got the idea. Platforming games, I'm a master at them. I exploit all kinds of weaknesses, and I'm very skilled at jumping and things like that. Tricky jumps, I'll go after them if I have to.
Why do you think platform games are your favorite?
I actually have no idea why. I just like them, apparently. They've disappeared, though, so I've kind of lost a lot of interest.
Yeah.
And that's where Platform Masters comes in. It kind of revives my interest in them, to some extent. Platform Masters is almost my masterpiece game. It's pretty much my dream game, almost, for as far as platformers go. Of course, limited to 2D, and I would like to see a 3D version of this, but trouble is, I don't know any 3D programming stuff. And I need a modeler that's actually worthy enough, not overpriced, like $5K dollars, if you know what I mean, and it has to be pretty fast to work with. And yes, I have had thoughts of actually making my own modeling program and probably GPLing it, if you know what I mean, but beyond that, I wouldn't know.
You sleep on the floor?
Yep, you'll notice that there are 0 beds in here. Although this is not really a bed in a traditional sense, but I consider it my bed. Normally my blankets would be a lot closer to that heater over here. But during the winter, I have a very low resistance against ice element or cold, and a high resistance against fire element or heat. That I need the high defense against it. So, yeah, right now my room is 75, which is kind of on the low end of my comfort zone. Normally I can go clear up to 78 without problems. But once it starts getting a little above about 82, then I start getting uncomfortable. Below 75 and I start getting uncomfortable. Which, yeah, it is a little on the high end.
I noticed you don't have any chairs either.
Yeah, I have a problem with chairs too.
Oh, you can't sit in chairs?
Yeah, I've had problems with chairs since 9th grade.
What happened in 9th grade?
Or actually, was it 9th? No, I was fine on 9th grade. It's 10th grade. 11th grade. That's when halfway through my 11th grade year is about when I started having problems with chairs, and ever since then I otherwise never sit in them anymore. Car seats are really about as close as I get, as long as toilet seats. And whenever I go to restaurants, I always have to go with the booth. If a restaurant doesn't have any booth, then I actually literally stand all the way through. Okay, got that out of the way.
Is that your facial hair?
No, it's beard, mustache, or whatever. I don't know what it is. But it's annoying.
You frequently cut your own hair like that?
Pretty much, yeah. Except with this main stuff here. Mom gets mad over it if I did it on my own. Otherwise, I'd do it on my own. I don't care what I look like.
You don't see yourself anyways, right?
Yeah. Plus, I don't care what I look like anyway. What is going on here? Oh, that's a very lovable sister. The process to casting a spell involves 4 steps. The first step is to take your hands, like this, and join them together so that they're crossed like this. And you basically fold them like your fingers like this. That's the first step. I'm not charging yet. Step 2 is the charging, where I bring it up to my forehead like this. Normally at this point you'll see a green glow appearing around me. But now, whenever I'm done charging, I'd step back like this. And then the 4th step and last, you jerk your hand forward like this. This is the great power of Ulillillia.
Okay, to keep Nicky busy when we would go someplace and stuff, I would always get him to do math. 1 and 1 is what, Nicky? And he'd say 2. And we kept working on it. My mother sent him this really decorative calculator that you handheld. And he was having a ball. He could figure out pi and all this stuff. I don't even know how he did that, but he figured this all out. And he was having fun. And we were waiting for a doctor appointment. We're sitting there doing math in our heads, and that's how he got to do so good at math. Something to keep him busy.
Before we got the internet at home, we would go to the city library to go online. And he used to walk up to ladies and go, "Pretty lady," and they would just freak out, and they could tell something wasn't quite right there. But it did scare some younger girls. And I'd have to go, "It's okay, he's okay."
And how old is he when he did that?
I think it was about 15, 17, somewhere around there.
Anybody home?
Counter.
You want to see something neat? Come here, watch this. I'll make that light hit the tree over there, watch. Who put that big rock up there? Who was it?
You.
You put it up there, huh?
No, you. I said you.
Yeah,
This
well,
object
all
here.
those
All
rocks-
this object
All
right
those
here.
rocks down there, bud, put them back in the pile where they belong. He was exposed to make me a rock fence up there in the front there. That's why I cut all that dirt back and all that. He was exposed to be stacking rocks up there so he could make a rock front in the ditch there. Yeah.
Never gonna happen.
Didn't get
sorry.
very far, did it?
Never gonna happen either.
Yeah, well,
Counter.
one of these days you'll see the light. Maybe.
Okay, what's the problem? No, you're being bad. Nia says you like these things. Okay?
But,
So what about the light simulation?
I guess we're
Okay, go.
you know, like,
No barking, go.
Not out the window.
No. Point the camera so
Oh, that's Nikki. You're barking at the wrong one. I think you're blind. Yeah, now you can see him. I think you're blind. Luna, that hurts. Knock it out. All right. You got to see. That's enough. God. Boy, do you want to take some dogs home with you?
Thanks. Yeah, one.
You can take that squeaker. That one's loud.
Yeah.
Oh, Cujo. Come here.
This one's the loud,
Come here.
high-pitched one.
Come here. You're loud. See, look. See, that's all they're doing. Ow! Luna. See that? It's just babies. You see that? Oh, you got problems. You can take this one. She's a squeaker. Loud. Oh, yeah. No, shush. Shush. Don't want it. No, that was Nikki, see? Alright. God, you guys are bad. You sure you don't want to die? No. She can squeak you all the way home.
No way.
Alright.
You're aggressive carnivores. You're aggressive. Yep, that's my next item. Once I get that tutor, if I get it before floor 10 that is, and then I just move it on to here and repeat the process. This plus this, I'll probably get that tutor about 7,700 or something.
So,
Doubled when it's subdued, so it's 15,000 or so.
So it doesn't seem the what did you say?
Like I said, I can probably get it in about another 30 minutes.
It doesn't seem the flood has really affected your day-to-day life at all.
No, it hasn't. Only transportation, whenever I do go to the grocery store, is the only thing that's been affected.
Because most of the other people we meet around here, they have all these crazy stories about the flood and how it's disrupted their whole lives, and you.
It's had virtually no effect on me. It's only transportation that's been affected, but only slightly.
Do you think you're lucky in that regard?
In a way, yeah. But then again, the river would have to rise like another 100+ feet to get here. And like that's gonna happen anytime soon.
Yeah. So, can you think of any way other than transportation? Like, you don't know anybody that's been affected by the flood? Or?
I essentially don't know anybody or where they live and such, so I can't tell. It's hard for me to know.
Why is 22 your unlucky number?
They just seem to have bad luck when there's a lot of those numbers around.
Can you give me an example?
Not really that I can think of right now. It just seems unlucky.
Do you not like the number 2 at all?
It's borderline. I like powers of 2. After all, 64, you know. 65, 536. 2097, 152. That's the highest I memorized up to. That's step 21.
So do you try to avoid 22s?
Hmm?
Do you try to avoid the number 22?
As much as I can.
What about the 22nd date of each month? Are those always bad days?
Usually. They're not all bad, because sometimes they do end up with decent days. And what do you know, those vicious carnivorous things have gone berserk. They're so exciting, aren't they? They're so fuzzy. So vicious. So carnivorous. Not too long ago I was involved with pretzels, and the time before that was chips, and probably there's more crackers or something. It just keeps constantly changing. And after some time I'm eventually going to get bored of Cheez-It, and I'm going to go to something else. And whenever I get bored of that, I'm going to something else, and it just keeps on going. And as I'm no longer dealing with it, the motive goes back up again from passive neutralization, which is the reverse of active neutralization, and that causes the motive to otherwise return. So, and one does whichever activity has the highest motive. The law of, or the theory of choice, that's what it's called.
What about the that wooden box right there?
Wooden box? Oh, this thing? I'm actually not sure what it is.
So there's nothing in it?
I don't know what's even in here. Something that rolls.
You want to open it up and find out?
Nah, I don't feel like opening it up.
When's the last time you think you opened it up?
10 years ago.
You just have no idea what's in there?
No, I don't.
And you have no interest in seeing what's in it?
Nope.
Alright,
Boy, he could not wait when he was little to get on the computer. My kids have never watched TV. They're not TV holics. They weren't babysitters. The TV wasn't their babysitter. They read. They did creative stuff. My daughter's very creative, and Nikki was always, I want to do computer. He was that Nintendo.
Yeah,
Atari. Man, he couldn't wait to get on and do that. He had to do it. He had to beat them games. I don't care what it was. But he don't like the bloody gutty stuff. He likes the adventure, I don't know what I call it, adventure games. I don't know what he calls them.
Arcade games.
He likes Sonic and Hedgehog and what's the other one? Something.
No, there's several of them.
But this is my primary games drawer, where you can see all the various games in here. This is not a game. Let's see. What is this? 40-pin EIDE cable. Very slow, these. This is the game that holds the record of that one song with 132,500 plays. I got this off eBay. I'll probably just get rid of that. Sonic 2 is kind of a dull game. There really isn't much to it. The scrolling speed's too slow, though. That's the only problem with it. 16 pixels per frame is just too slow. I get that with no effort. This game's got good music, and one of the songs on it has gone on for 46 days, I think. No, that was Final Fantasy. 27 days. It's a song I call Winterland. Super Mario 3. Oh, how I remember this one so much. I've actually literally gotten a max score on the very first level in the game. This one I have about 1,500 hours on. Seriously, 1,500 hours. 3,600. That is a lot of play, and it's all because of two main things. Glide hops and speed like you would never believe. You can just go so fast on this game, it just blows your mind away. Everything streaks by so fast, it's amazing.
We're gonna switch framing up too. Oh, I'm gonna do it. Go ahead.
And I drink fast too, by the way.
You always drink like that?
Yep. My fastest on record is about 9 seconds for a can this size. I'm Nick Smith, aka Ulillillia, and this is my book, The Legend of the 10 Elemental Masters. So here's an example of the stats, and this here all explains what all the various stats mean, and what the effects they have. It's in brief detail though, but I could certainly go in a lot more detail and add another 15-20 pages to it, but I don't think that's necessary. I was actually pretty surprised when I first released this book, and I was stunned to see that I had over 30 sales in just one day. The second day I had something like 15, give or take, and ever since then it's pretty much been declining. And it's now kind of stabled off. It's basically a graph that goes like this, and now it's pretty much just straight.
So how many have you sold altogether?
It's hovering around 600 as of July 2, 2011.
That's pretty good.
Pretty good actually, in a way.
How many were you expecting when you released it? Did you have any expectations?
I was only expecting like 200, 100 even. I'd have been satisfied with even 50. I just come up with my own ideas, and if they work, I go with it. I've never seen a professionally made design document either, so I have no idea what they look like. So again, more assumptions.
So basically, you're just figuring every single aspect of the game design process out on your own.
Yep, pretty much. Every aspect all on my own. And it's the only way I can otherwise do it. I have not a clue as to how the professionals do it.
Are you proud that you've been able to figure out this much so far on your own?
It's quite amazing that, I've actually heard on YouTube that even the professionals have a hard time doing collision detection. And yet, I've never been schooled on that kind of thing, and I've pretty much figured it out all on my own. Of course, there are a few tweaks and stuff here and there that I need to make to kind of improve on it, fix the bugs and other such things. But other than that, it's really good to go. It's pretty solid. Because all programming really is nothing more than manipulating variables. So if you can figure out how to manipulate variables and learn the basic syntax, you can program virtually anything. It's just a matter of your creativity and limit of your imagination.
It's generated quite a bit of interest, though, so far.
Yeah, it's generated a lot of interest, especially on YouTube.
You have, like, what, over 10,000 people that have been following your videos, right?
I actually don't remember. It's been so long since I last checked it. Well, basically the compatibility motive system actually originated in 1997 or 1999. I don't remember exactly which year. But ever since then, I've been using it ever since. But the current system started in 2006, and since it's so easy to use, less prone to errors and other things like that, simpler to understand, doesn't use a really complex formula like the system I used beforehand, the half-step system, and that basically is how it all came to be. Everything I see has got some numerical value of some sort. From color to sizes, the shape of objects, all that's got, I describe it with numbers. And with that actually comes an advantage. I'm not skilled at art if I don't use numbers. But if I use numbers, one look at Platform Masters and you can see just how skilled I am with art. All thanks to just numbers.
So you have no romantic interests?
Nope, I have zero interest in that kind of stuff.
Why is that?
In a lot of things. There's so many negatives on top of one another, on top of another.
Like what?
There's 4-digit negative for just getting married, in a sense. It's so far into negative territory that it almost rivals robbing banks. I do kind of consider myself lonely, actually, although not much.
Would you like to have friends?
I have no one around. Transportation being severely limited, for example, I have no way to get anywhere. And whatever things I have an interest in, no one else does. So it just throws everything off. It's like my chances are down the drain. It's just another human walking on a giant ball, floating out in the middle of nowhere.
I wanted to hypnotize Nikki to get him out of the mirror situation and the stare situation. I thought, oh, if I hypnotize him. So I went to a hypnotist and I asked him, and she said, sure, we can do that. The patient has to be willing to do it. And at that time, Nikki was. And now he won't do it. He lost interest. It took that hypnotist too long to come back to him. But we were going to try it, see if it'd help, just to get rid of the mirror and the stare thing.
Ever since 7th grade, I've had troubles with stairs. Like, for example, take these stairs here, just an example. Normally, you'd like put one step here, put the next foot up here, take the foot that was here and go up here and so forth. Yeah, I know how to do it. Trouble is, with my stair problem, I have to take a rather screwy way of doing it, and this is what I usually do. A big long step like that. What about coming down? Well, I get to the edge like this, kind of close, bend down, jump, and that's how I do it. Bigger flights of stairs, you have to hold on to railing and really pull myself up, and it gets exhausting pretty fast.
Because it's irritating. I'm telling you, it's irritating.
It can be, yes.
We took him to a Mall of America, and wouldn't you know it, that a mirror thing going on there. Oh my God, that was horrible. Yeah, but he liked going there. He just
And people don't understand when they see him get down on his hands and knees and crawl under something to avoid a mirror.
I just, you know, you get to the point you just ignore him.
How long have you not been able to look in the mirrors?
That's going on 23 years now, I think. Huge number in that case. 700 million seconds.
So what happens when you just catch a small glimpse of your reflection? What happens?
That I don't know.
It's never happened?
I quickly get out of the way as far as I'm aware.
Oh, okay.
I take immediate evasive action. And then some immediate evasive. Let's say there was a fire right near that door. What am I to do but either bust this thing to get to the door, or I'm going to have to waste time, risking my life even, rotating this stupid thing. Yeah, that's why it's a problem. I need to get rid of this, or have an open space to that door. It's a safety hazard.
We just let him do his thing. As long as he's happy, I'm happy. Nobody better mess with him. Yeah.
Yeah.
What my mind game is basically a video game that I play in my head, based off of various mechanics and actual games that I've played. Everyone wonder what it would be like to glide from one mountain peak to another? Well, that's what I do in my mind game. That's one thing I do. The graphics are almost kind of like Bubsy 3D in a way. I can't process graphics anywhere near as effective as even the NES games can. It just triggers randomly, almost without much control. I can, however, get it to go deliberate, but the experience isn't anywhere near as good. Or at least usually isn't.
How long do you usually play your mind game? Is it like just for
It's
minutes?
pretty random. My longest on record is I think 7 hours, 8 hours. This was something involving Hawaii and a mud bath or mud pool or something, and there was also the ocean. I was going to like a college or university. It was just some kind of weird setup I had.
Okay.
It would have been about May that we heard that there was going to be a lot of water. And then when June came, they realized that the water coming from the north was going to be immensely more than what they had anticipated to begin with. They had drawn an original flood map, which did not include our house. And so we weren't worried too much about having to evacuate. And then when the word came, it was actually for this across the street for them to evacuate. So thank goodness I had family here in Minot, and they came down and in one night helped us move everything upstairs and some stuff out. And it was a whirlwind of having to just hurry up and do it. We didn't get everything out. I was worried that if it did flood and the sewer pumps gave out, I just bought brand new furniture for the kids, brand new beds. They're learning to sleep in their own beds. And it was really traumatic because they've been asking, can we go home? And it's been a long journey of having to, live with someone else and having to try and go to work, knowing that you have possessions at home and you don't know what's going to happen to them. And then seeing it on the news of people actually losing everything was very difficult. And it would be for anybody, but when you see it on TV, it's one thing. When you actually see it in person, it's something completely different. And I'm just thankful that it did not take our home, and hopefully we'll be able to move back in.
Would you like to go to a royal ball tonight with Cinderella? I'll help you get ready.
I moved back to Minot about 5.5 years ago to take care of our elderly mother, and who was basically homebound. Yes, our mother passed away on the 25th of February at the ripe old age of 97, and she actually died in this room. We had kept her home through her lifespan. And it was a really, really difficult time in our lives to watch her going through the process of death. She passed away in February, and then this flood hit the end of June. And we had an incident. In fact, it was just this morning I talked to some friends of ours who had lived upstairs, and they have a small daughter about 6 years of age. And on Sunday, her mother and her drove down University Avenue thinking they could go all the way through, and then they realized it was still diked. So they pulled into the driveway and looked around a little bit. And little Lydia said to her mother, Mom, I'm really sorry that Audrey passed away, but she said, she said, I'm glad she didn't have to see this. She said it would make her very sad. And then she went on to say, when Audrey looks down from heaven, I hope she closes her eyes and doesn't have to see this mess. She would be very sad.
Take a break.
Let's do newscasts in here. I just took a break for 4 months. City station.
I wish we could do that.
You are doing. I know it looks like that, but there's virtually a lot of here.
I've been in broadcasting since age 14. I started out as a radio disc jockey at a local AM station in my hometown of Bowman, North Dakota. Came up to Minot for college and for broadcasting school, along with playing baseball. But I picked up on radio and television shortly after that, and I've been in the business professionally for about 13 years now. I've been here at KX for 11. Out of our staff, which is a very small television station, we had 5 people who were all directly involved with our newscasts that all lost our homes, myself very much included. It was, I can tell you, it was a Monday morning, and I was trying to get the kids ready. I've got a little 12-year-old and a 5-year-old. The 5-year-old goes to daycare, and it was at 10 o'clock in the morning. And I took a phone call that from one of the people that I know in town who works inside the emergency operations center, and the news was going to break at noon during the press conference about the fact that we were going to flood. But they were trying to get all of their resources together, but I took a phone call about 2 hours prior to that. It said, you need to get everything out now. So I called my wife from work, and she came home, and for 2 hours, as fast as I could, sprinting up and down stairs, out into the vehicles, I called my parents, I called as many friends as I could to start hauling trailers, knowing that once the word got out, it was going to be absolutely just controlled chaos. It wasn't pandemonium, it was controlled chaos, and that was the beautiful thing about the evacuation. But knowing that I actually had a limited amount of time because I had to get into work. When news broke at noon that we were going to flood, I couldn't be at my house anymore. I had to be into work to pretty much tell the story. I was sitting here on the Wednesday night when one of the levees was overtopped that would have been right next to my house, and was reporting on my own house being flooded. And the same thing with Perry and Jim the next morning when everybody woke up. And really it was on that Thursday morning when everyone got to see what really had happened overnight. And Perry was reporting on his own neighborhood taking 6 feet of water. Jim was reporting on his neighborhood taking on 6 feet of water. We also had a photojournalist that his house most likely was completely blown off its foundation by the river. And then our director from Burlington, not far away, our small little neighbor to the west, his house took about 8 feet of water. So we're all sitting here reporting on everyone else's tragedy, and in the meantime, in the back of our minds or at the forefront of our thoughts, our houses, our lives were right in there with them. And maybe that's what made such a big connection, I think, to so many people, is that we're not just reporting on it, but it's our lives too. It was our own story being told to them, and somehow we can relate that. And maybe that's what made such a big connection with so many people, is that it wasn't just a story, it was all of our stories.
Counter.
Ew.
Got an eye right there.
Really? I thought I had 2 of them.
Yeah, there's another eye right there. I'm so impressed. What?
You're weird.
You need love.
Nope.
Yes.
Nope. My arm's gonna fall off again.
Lovable
How many times I gotta reattach it?
sister.
Nope.
Lovable sister. Yes. Lovable.
Nope.
Lovable.
Nope. That's 3 arms.
Huh? How did they get you? Ready for this one?
No. No! You're sick and twisted. You know that? You have to live with him. You just...
Like, which neighbors do you know?
Now I know this one, not that one, and the one that's over there with the greenhouse. Those are the only 2 neighbors I know.
And do you have any stories about them, or you can just walk?
No, not really.
But
These ones here, I don't know who they are. Although the mailbox is over, but beyond that, I have not a clue. I don't even know. There's a glove. You find all kinds of treasures if you look closely. Another neighbor I don't know, same here. Boy, this is really getting monotonous. I don't think that's my house. Nope, that's not. Let's see, yeah, one to the east. Turn left. Oh, no. Let's see. It's gotta be this way then. Yeah, this looks a lot familiar. Yes, it is. Okay, this is the right way. Yeah, I get lost even in my own neighborhood because I barely even know it.
All I know is Nick helps his dad every now and then, and from what I understood before, he kind of sleeps during the day and is up at night, so now it's kind of a change for him. I know he likes computers. Supposedly he's pretty sharp. He told me about his new game that he was working on, and it finally come together, and he put her on the internet, and I guess he's doing pretty well.
Many years ago.
I remember one year he was in high school, ninth grade, and they wanted him to do something. I can't remember what it was. And they called me up and said, come and get your son. The rule is, if Nicky doesn't behave, call me, I'll come and get him. They called me and says, you got to come and get him. I go get him. He's laying on the floor in his room, not a classroom, but a room.
Timeout room.
No, not a timeout. I don't know. It's where
Kinda.
the special needs kids meet, okay? And he's laying on the floor. He's so tired he can't keep his eyes open. He wanted to go to sleep. And the teacher wanted him to go to class. I said, well, if he's too tired to stay awake to go to class, let him sleep. No, he can't sleep in school. What's the matter with you? I took him home. He went to sleep. He was fine.
Yeah, even in grade school he was having problems basically under social skills. He could not get along with other kids, and he'd get bullheaded and didn't want to do what he was asked to do, and they'd have trouble with him. They had to call the police in, etc., etc. Oh yeah. So
I told him
he
to
got
call me.
pushed the wrong way somehow or another. I don't know exactly. I don't remember what all happened, but he ended up hitting a teacher, because didn't like it. So, and of course that's
The teacher shouldn't
that's a
have touched
no-no.
him.
So they had to bring the police in.
He liked this one teacher named Bill. He called him Bill Nye, but that's not his name. But Bill Nye, the science guy, okay? And they would talk about everything. That guy was fascinating. And with that, Nicky got to be more fascinating. He learned how to adapt to things because of him. He was just cool.
Up this ramp is where my 4th and 5th grade rooms were. Of course, this looks a whole lot different because there used to be temporary walls and the such up here, but now they're otherwise gone. A whole lot of things are changed. Right over in this angle, right over here is where my 4th grade class was, which is where Miss Feist was. Not sure what that thing is. And right over here was my 5th grade class. In this angle anyway. But now that they've actually got walls here and things are significantly different. Way different. There were some stairs somewhere off to the left or something that you climbed up to get out to the playground, which is out there. And I remember playing a lot of kickball and the such out there. Sometimes with 2 classes joining together of kickball. Yeah, that was really good times, that part anyway. 0 of those names I remember. This whole place has been so radically redone. They would just be mean to me, say mean things. They would... Well, there's one case where one of them literally spit on my back. Seriously. They'd often whistle for no reason, really getting me irritated. You know, it's an easy way to trigger a fight with me is whistling, so they better be careful with that. And boredom, basically. place when I started creating these games. And sometimes when my parents do ground me from playing my video games because I got a bad score in school or something, like less than 90%, I wouldn't be able to play my regular video games, so I had to resort to other methods. And that's basically where these games originated from. Is most of the games are otherwise single player simply because I got no one to play with. The games I like, my sister doesn't. The game my sister likes, she doesn't. I don't like. So there's a big conflict. Parents, they're always watching TV and things like that, so they're not an option. So I don't know what else I can otherwise do. Pizza is pretty much about the only thing I really ever eat. There are some exceptions, such as a hamburger helper without hamburger and just extra flavor and milk. But just for the most part, it's pizza. And almost entirely pizza. One look at this and you'll know what I mean. I've probably got like 2 weeks worth right here, but this is just for starters. Get it all unwrapped like this. Make sure my 4 is nearby. And watch the speed too while I'm at it. Pick this up, put it on these paper towels, and then I gather up all the cheese that's on the outside here. Ooh. Sometimes this does happen, but it doesn't matter too much. That just means I gotta keep more distance from the outer edge. Group it up like this actually for a reason. So that way when the cheese melts, it has to spread out so that way I can cook it longer. Because otherwise if it goes over the edge, then it's gonna end up on the paper towel and it's otherwise wasted. If you know what I mean. This particular variety uses 222, but some go for 258 and most of the others go for 99. The third phase of the process is degreasing it. This, although I'm not entirely certain, cuts back on the fat. Now, this is a clean paper towel, okay? This is a very clean paper towel. Now, this is what degreasing came up. See this darker colored area here that looks kind of wet? That is supposedly some of the fat that I just soaked up. Fat is 9 calories per gram, roughly. And carbohydrates are 4 and protein are 4. But look how much this all comes up. This is a lot of grease. This is why I degrease, and this is why I'm actually otherwise at a pretty healthy weight overall, despite the fact I eat almost nothing but pizza.
If there's anything I could change with him right now, it would be to get him to eat better. Because what he does eat is, to me, I don't think is right. But
he used to eat a lot of different things.
Oh, yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the doctor told him, this one doctor, pain in the butt. Anyway, he said, I'm going to give you this medicine, Nikki, and it's going to make you eat nothing but pizza. Okay, now what does he eat? People don't understand when you say something to him, he takes it and conforms it to him.
Okay. Then this, look how much grease I got out of here. One thing that I would really like to do, send this into a lab and just see how much fat I'm actually soaking up. That would be really neat to know. Compare that against this pizza's nutrition facts and just see how effective this process really is. Seems to work for me, but because after all I've been doing this for a good decade or so by now. So yeah, it does have its effects.
When he was 10, they put him on this Pamelar, and he was wider than he was tall.
Oh yeah,
he was wider than he was tall, and I took him, because we're military, we took him on base, and the doctor, thank God we saw this doctor that we did. She goes, get him off this medicine. What is your doctor, crazy? That could kill him. because he went from this he was wider, his waistline was wider than he was tall. Yeah, that was ridiculous.
And then as soon as we got him off of that, he was dropping tonnage like crazy. I don't think I'm pretty sure Nikki does not have one single friend, and that's something that really bothers me a lot because I keep trying to get him to go out, do things, meet people. He has no interest, so it's hard to get him going.
Well, he don't want to join a group either.
Yeah.
You know, like there's a group for special needs people. They take them out fishing and camping. You don't want anything to do with them. So it's hard to get him activated. I guess that's a good word. If you're not interested in what he's got to say, he just walks away. And if you don't like the way he looks, he don't care. He just walks away. He doesn't bother him. Well, I always told him when he was growing up, because kids would pick on him, okay? And I said, Nikki, you're going to have this the rest of your life. People are stupid. I'm serious. They are. Why would somebody pick on a handicapped person? Why would you pick on somebody in a wheelchair? How dumb can you get?
So, you want to get going now?
Lead the way.
My neighborhood is actually west of Minot, just a little bit, pretty close to the river, on the river. And it's kind of complicated back there, so after 1 or 2 days of patrolling that area after the evacuation was getting ready to take effect, some of my coworkers said, I can't do it, this place is too confusing. So they wanted me to do it, and I thought it was a pretty good idea because I know some of these people. I've only lived in that house for 7 months, but I know some of the people, and I know the area, so I figured it'd be, better for them to hear from me that they have to leave than some stranger. Some of them knew me, a lot of them didn't know I was even in the military. And then here I come and telling them they have to evacuate and be out by 5 o'clock, and they're kind of like, well, get out of here when the water comes or when the cops make us get out. And it seemed like once I told them that I live right down the street, they kind of brought their level down a little bit and I could talk with them a little more face to face, and they were more understanding of my position because I was in the same boat too. Having to evacuate our house, especially after living it in such a short time. My wife and I moved into it the day we got married. So it was, just getting settled in, just getting comfortable. Built a kid a playhouse in the backyard, just finished it, stuff like that. And it was our first real home together. And I think that really made it a little more stressful for my wife particularly. And my stepdaughter, really, they've both been handling it very well, but like anything, you take a young child and get them comfortable and then yank them out of the comfort zone, they're going to have a little bit of hard time with it.
My husband and I moved to Minot, North Dakota about 2.5 years ago. Our house received about 6 feet of water. On the first floor, our basement is completely flooded. When we first heard the news that we had to evacuate, it was kind of scary. It was kind of sad. We bought our house 2 years exactly to the day that the flood came. And we'd worked pretty hard to make it our own. We were very proud. I think it was the first time we've had our own home where we knew we were going to be staying put for a while. So we've done all the painting, and my husband is an excellent carpenter and very organized, very detail-oriented, and he's put a lot of himself into this house. This whole back sitting room was a mess when we got here, and we had only just finished remodeling it maybe a month before the flood came. We have every intention of moving back in this house, if they'll let us. We still have a number of inspections to go through, and the city has to decide if we even get to move back here. They may condemn this house, they may condemn many neighborhoods. So all we can do right now is just clean up and hope we get to come back.
I was backing out of my driveway and I saw the water coming over the dam right there, the dike behind my house, and I thought, uh-oh. I got to the corner and the siren blew. That's how close I got. So one of the hardest things I had to do was stand there and throw the switch on the power. As I said, for 40 years I've been in this place, and I've done everything I can to keep it in the on position. And now I gotta turn it off. That made me feel pretty bad. I live on a street where there's a lot of multiples, and what we saw was people helping each other. Once they'd empty a house, the people that had emptied that house would go to the next house and offer their help. I myself had 5 or 6 close friends with pickup trucks helping me for 4 days, and as soon as we got my stuff mainly out, they went next door and helped the neighbors. We helped everybody in the entire fourplex move out. People as far as we didn't even know who they were. So that's the way we think. Oh, one of the most tragic things I lost so far is my cat. But he jumped out of my motorhome, and when I was moving things, and I haven't seen him since. I put out 100 flyers and everything else, but I hope he's in good hands.
less than $1. Smoke gets in your eyes. That is so funny. Yeah, I know. I'm already after those. Hey, mister. Just so you know, there's a package opened in here.
Oh, okay. I will take care of that.
6 piece. I wonder where the cheapest stuff is. Boiling pot. No thanks. I like some of the weird names they give these. Cuckoo. It's kind of like a rooster in a way. Only 2 lines open. Gotta wait in line. There's a quarter down there, but it's out of range. Can't get to it. Maybe I've got a tweezers or something so I can grab it. Might be a Canadian, but I'm not sure. Yeah. Scan this one while you're at it. Here's something you rarely see.
All right.
Thank you.
No thanks. I'm not hungry.
Okay, do you want water?
Nope. I just wanted to donate. That's all.
Very much.
Yeah, something you don't see very often.
That's very true. Somebody not asking for things.
Right.
Now, I would highly recommend you get away because these are explosive. 2 fuses, that's interesting. This is a rare sight, seeing 2 fuses on a single firework.
Yeah, I've got 3 stents in the heart, so little stainless steel tubes and keeps them open. So that was a kind of a surprise. So I was 48 years old at the time, so that was in '98.
Oh wow.
June of '98. I got up that morning and really tired, and I had a couple of pains in the shoulder here, while I've been swapping motors and everything else. I used to work down at the Chrysler Center. Okay, and just figured I'm just plain flat wore out, so I went to work, and 1 o'clock in the afternoon I'm pulling a transmission out of a Dodge Dakota, and I ended up picking myself up off the ground. Just basically passed out. I couldn't, what the heck? So I get up and must have thought maybe I'd slipped or something, went down, I got up and reached up to do it again, I went down again, then I got massive pains all across. And I said, I know what this is, so I should have realized it in the first place, but I didn't. So. And then had to be jump started a couple times, with the paddles and stuff. So it was not an enjoyable trip. Let's put it that way. So.
You poop?
Very neat. She's going, I'd be nice maybe if you'd share.
I doubt it. You're not nice even when I share with you, are you?
That's my dog there, huh?
Must be. She's the only one not in the lap currently.
You just think you should have everything. Yeah, you're wrong. You pretty hard for you today.
Needs a bath again. She's been doing something.
Out chasing squirrels and barking at birds.
Funniest dog when it comes to
nice gold. Since about 3rd grade, I've had troubles with sleeping and the like. Usually when I go to bed, I'd otherwise just be playing games or something, but I just couldn't get to sleep. And it wasn't until I graduated high school, or actually a little before that, a few years before that I actually realized what the actual culprit is. Instead of following a 24-hour cycle like most of us are otherwise familiar with, I follow a 25 2/3 hour cycle. There's 24 hours in a day, and my sleep-wake cycle is 25 2/3. The difference? 1 2/3 hours. And thus, every day that goes by, the time I wake up and the time I go to bed shifts 100 minutes, which is 1 2/3 hours. Yep, 1:35 a.m., dark out the window, it's pitch black because it's night out, and yet I'm active, wide active. I'm about as active as someone would normally be about like 3 p.m. or something. It's caused a lot of trouble with school. It's made me miss doctor appointments. It's caused me to miss fun activities such as a trip to Bismarck or something, 100 miles to the south, because I like road trips. Rarely ever get to do them.
Do you think you inherited some of your mom's sleep problems? Is that maybe
I actually have no idea what inheritance things I've got. I don't even know my own family history. I've actually literally forgot what they look like. Because it's been so long. It's like, how are you supposed to remember something a 500 million seconds ago? 16 years. They're too far away. I never get in contact with them. It's like, I don't even belong to those. I don't even have any reference to them. Or I feel like an outsider in a way to them. And another interesting thing is, I don't even know what, like, mother-in-law, I don't even know what that is. A lot of those family terms I don't know. I don't know what a stepmother is compared to a regular mother or something. I get frequently mixed up with niece and nephews. And things like that. I just get mixed up with them or don't have a clue as to what they are. And when I do learn them, I forget them the next day or something because it's so very rarely ever referenced. Top favorite dream that I've ever had, well, there's actually two of them that are kind of almost a split, so it kind of depends. But the best of the best is one where I'm in a city that's in water. It's actually intentionally built in the water, too, and it's got defenses and such. It was at night, and it was all glittery. There were, earlier, if I remember in the dream, there was this platform hopping thing where there was these colored stones, and after too long of a time period, the water turned into lava or something, or like a lava kind of texture in a way. It didn't hurt you if you fell in, at least, fortunately. There was another scene where I was actually up where a guard was, and I jumped over the edge into the water below. It was like 8 feet below. The water was crystal clear, and the whole scene was just so gorgeous. Oh boy, it's so amazing. I just wish that dream would recur. I'd actually even live in that world if I ever could. That's kind of like the equivalent of heaven. Almost, but not truly. Heaven's better. My mud dreams are almost entirely weird, to say the least, simply because of their nature. Who's ever heard of someone deliberately walking into a pool of mud that's up to their neck? I really don't see that kind of thing.
So why are you putting that on for? Sunscreen, you're going to be underwater. I mean, under mud, I should say. Ew, that's disgusting.
That don't seem bad to me. You want to go in?
No.
Sorry, really bad need to get this speech sector fixed. Yeah, speech sector. Not the circulatory part, the speech sector.
Ain't nothing wrong with that either, bud.
There's a lot wrong.
Very not.
For a long time, I've had quite a few mud dreams, and, well, I've been kind of wondering what it's like to be in mud, like the kind of mud that's often seen in my dreams. Well, this is pretty much my opportunity, at least for who knows how long. Whoa. Ready? Ready?
Yeah. Yep.
Whoa.
So does it answer your question about mud in your dreams?
Mostly. Trying to get it. Yeah, it actually feels pretty comfortable.
No?
Well, we follow this guy's man.
Oh boy,
Just helping out the people who lost their homes.
Oh, that's funny.
This is a good guy right here. This is the crew chief. Right here.
You all work for the same company, CWR?
Yeah.
And are you all from the same area?
Yep.
Yeah. Is there anybody else from your town down here?
Oh, just half of Belcourt. Well, practically say we say Belcourt moved up to Minot.
Field's all flooded up. No grass, nothing.
That's pretty crazy.
It is pretty crazy.
I didn't think it was this bad. I don't know the nails, but
this house ain't that bad compared to some of the houses.
The floors look pretty bad though.
Oh, it was built in the early 1900s. So.
Too bad we couldn't pull out that. Too bad we didn't have that camera.
That's what the homeowner told us.
A lake from here down, and still had a shore. We could.
Do you guys get that one? That's the
It's
somewhere inside here.
No,
What's up? They found
No,
real leg.
The bones. They found the bones, but then it still had the shoe on it.
No way. Yeah.
Well, that they found there's like a leg cut down from here, all the way down, and it was just a bone, and they still had their shoe on. They found it inside the foundation of a car, or not a car, a house.
When they're breaking it.
Yeah, they were breaking the house down. They found it in the foundation.
Like a
and
dead body from a really
they
long
also
time
found
ago.
like old coins and old dollar bills and stuff like that from like 1813 inside the walls in here, I guess. I've been waiting to come up here to check this out. I'm surprised I never got up here.
Worst thing you thought it was gonna be? Worst you said you thought?
I thought it was gonna be. I don't know. I didn't really try to picture it out.
I thought maybe it was just gonna be a little flood in the basements and stuff like that. And
I didn't think that the water would have been that high.
Not that high.
I mean, freaking destroyed a lot of stuff. It's crazy.
Well, in that house that we were on the South 7th Street Southwest. That's way down there. Well, the water in that house is a two-story one, and the second one it's halfway in the second floor. Covered their whole garage and everything.
Oh yeah, that first house that we were in, that water is at least.
That's the deepest I've ever seen the water there. And then it rained the other day.
From the ground,
It rained right on the road right there. It seemed like this builds
That
up.
first house we went to, right?
About 3 feet. The other day when it rained.
Yeah.
That's how fast it builds up here. I don't know why.
You know, I think it was about that high from the ground. Because it was way up on the walls. We had to tear the ceiling down and everything. Then they had that ceiling that was made out of that spraying ceiling. That's made out of like crushed up newspapers and stuff. Oh, I hate that stuff. I had about stuck about this hard on the floor after we tore the ceiling down. Well, it looks like all the nails down on this side, except for right there.
Oh, we're pretty much done with this already. Then another crew will come in and they'll sheetrock it and tape and texture it.
Yeah, they'll patch
All we do is this.
This spot over here, well, that large building over there is the grandstand, and just to the right of there is usually where there's like drag race or races, and there's a demolition derby, and there's also concerts going on over there. I otherwise never really go to those because of one thing, NOISE, and that's high. It's really loud. Pretty much throughout the entire day, I just focused on all those carnival rides. Oh yeah, there's bumper boats, there's bumper cars. Just think of your typical theme park and the kinds of rides you might find there. The one thing that's missing is a roller coaster. That's really the only thing there doesn't ever seem to be here. The last time I went to the state fair was in 2005, I think it was. The time before that was 2004. Both days I went, or both years I went for 7 days out of the 9, and almost all of it was spent on going on the rides. I wasn't able to go this year because of the flooding. Yeah, I've got so many things against transportation that I have to depend on my parents, but they work all the time. Sister works all the time, so she's not an option. And thus, I don't think the dogs can drive. It'd be kind of silly if they could. I actually wish I could live somewhere else for several reasons besides just the transportation. Of course, Hawaii would be really up there, but it's really expensive, so that's X'd off the list. Something in the mountains would be nice, because I like pretty scenery and stuff like that. But, of course, I'm not sure how that actually will go. The best kind of area I'm thinking is somewhere around the Tennessee kind of area. But beyond that, I really have no idea. I wouldn't want to go to an earthquake-prone area like California. That's a no-no. The ocean rising from global warming is almost inevitable over the course of like 50 years, so I don't want to be anywhere near the ocean. So I would like at least 500 feet elevation at the bare minimum, preferably even higher yet. I would probably almost have to be in the middle of a city or something, where I can go to like Walmart or a super Walmart, so I can go shopping almost whenever I need to. But then again, hauling all those drink containers and stuff all over is going to be a real pain. Considering how much groceries I get, if you know what I mean. So, even then, I still have that problem to figure out. But at least I might be able to go to a video game store to rent games or things like that. But I can't rent games anymore because they're always for systems I don't have. And once those systems do become reasonable enough as far as games of interest, and there's so few games of interest nowadays, that even renting games is otherwise out of my league. I used to rent games almost every weekend or something back when I was in school. But now I've gone on over 100 million seconds and still counting since the last time I rented a game. It's because there's so few games of interest and they're all for the newer systems that I don't have. Because you don't find GameCube games much anymore, for one.
When's the last time you were up in a plane?
4 or 5 years ago. It's been so long, I kind of forget.
A mile and a half final for a touch and go.
Okay, we'll call a 5 mile final for runway 31, looking for the traffic Legion 180.
Legion 180, I have you in sight, and the traffic to follow is just short final over the white tanks now. Legion 180, right to follow that traffic, cleared to land.
Though one thing I kind of do see kind of in the future, like 15 years or something from now, are kind of like, you know how buses and stuff in those big cities pretty much just stop, pick you up, and you go somewhere else? Now think of a small 1-passenger or 2-passenger kind of car that follows certain pathways, and they're actually roboticized. They're driven by nothing but computers. That'll otherwise completely eliminate my transportation issue, so I'd be able to go grocery shopping and things like that almost at will, which also opens up the possibility of going to the YMCA for swimming, or that splashdown theme park, water park, or whatever the thing is. Again, I forgot the exact nature of it. But yeah, I could be able to go there for a good chunk of the day and have fun. Of course, I could go 30 miles to the lake. And of course, I still got the money issue because you have to pay for energy for the cars to get those kinds of distances and the such. But yeah, that would be one of the things I would love to see.
How do you think you're going to be when you're 50 or 60?
Well, things got so much noise in there, it's like an almost unreadable static on TV, analog TV. That's how kind of fuzzy it is that far out. But yeah, I might be living in some kind of area in like Tennessee or one of those kind of mid-southern kind of states, you know, halfway between the north-south kind of area of the U.S., and also high enough elevation. I'd be quite scared because 1, 0 experience, 2, I'd be around nothing but strangers. And 3, then of course there's my transportation problem again. When my parents otherwise retire in full, and then I wouldn't really see too much in the way of changing my lifestyle, because it's, well, lack of experience for 1, and 2, I have no idea what might be going on. It might have an effect on my transportation issue, but I still have my sleep-wake cycle problem to deal with.
Minot have held strong as a community. People have tied together. There was some, I'm not sure what they said, 300 people that were actually in the dome that have been evacuated, and everyone else of the thousands of people are now staying with friends and family. So it is a community of open arms, and I have a feeling that when the water recedes and things go back, there will be a stronger community for it.
But I know that we're all very concerned about what has happened, and I know we're all hoping that this never, ever happens again in this community, that hopefully the people who are running the show and the people who are in charge have learned a great deal from this, and I hope other people learn, because this is costing a lot of money that wasn't really necessary to have to spend.
I think there is community pride. I think there has to be. I don't think a community pulls together like this without having that sense of pride that says we will stand together and we will come out on the other side together better than we were before, even if our community takes a tremendous hit right through the heart of the city. I think there is a lot of pride when it comes to that, and pride in knowing that dang right we'll stand up and help somebody that's in need, whether it's somebody we know or a complete stranger. And you know, I would only hope that more people somehow find that sense of pride within themselves to say, you know, a little bit of selfless attitude can go a long way in life. And even if I lose my house, even if my neighbor loses his house, we manage to save some, or at least we manage to save the memories out of those houses.
Ultimately, it's really hard to look past the now when you're dealing with a tragedy like this, where you're losing your home, losing personal belongings. But in the long run, I think it's going to leave a lot of room for progress for Minot. I think it's going to give a lot of opportunity. I want to use the word opportunity cautiously because it's not always a choice. But people will have to rebuild. They'll have to rebuild businesses. They'll have to rebuild homes. So ultimately, you're going to have newer homes being constructed, newer businesses, different businesses coming into the area. Labor, I mean, people are going to be needing jobs. There's going to be all the labor and construction going on. So one way or another, I mean, 10 years from now, Minot will have recovered, and it'll probably be a much better place due to this. Not to mention the cohesiveness of the unit, the cohesiveness of the town.
I think in general people are very hopeful about the future here. Before this flood, we were riding high. I mean, we have an oil industry that's booming. We have a budget surplus for this state. We have very little to no crime in this town. This is a very family-oriented, wonderful town. And I can't imagine people just walking away from it or just saying, this is it, we're done. I think everybody wants to come back and rebuild. I think a lot of it, though, just depends on if they'll let us.
I believe that we all can take pride in everybody in America pulling together. There were no deaths in Minot. We've lost in the billions of dollars of our property. And there has been no looting, no stealing, just helping, caring, and the really good fellowship of people who sincerely want to help each other. That's what this community is all about. Is they stick together, they work together, they help each other, and I truly believe that we will make it through this crisis just like any other American community. That's how I feel about Minot, North Dakota, and the United States. Thank you.
Would you consider yourself, do you think you're happier than most people?
No.
Do you think you're about average?
Maybe slightly below average.
Really?
Yes, because there's very little I can do. So I don't get much enjoyment.
You wish you could like travel more and...
Yeah, I definitely wish I could travel more or see the world, you know, because as far as I know, I'm just in a small, isolated cage in a sense. It's like I can't get out of the cage. No way to do it either.